tuned in to the Andrew Lawton Show.
I said a few moments ago, we have a very special guest joining us, and this person has been through a tremendous ordeal, and I'm so glad she's here today, and she has a bit of an entourage with her, which I think is more deserving with her than it is to Justin Trudeau when he shows up there. But the woman who united the country, who shook the world, as the subtitle of my book indicates, and who helped raise $10 million twice for the Freedom Convoy, Tamara Lich, is with me. Tamara, thank you so much for being here. I know it's not the best of occasions, but having you on brightens things up a little bit.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having us, Andrew. Happy to be here.
Hey, us, let's contextualize this. Who are you with right now?
I've got two fellow board members with me, Miranda Gassier and Ryan Mihilowicz.
All right. Well, they're a little bit out of frame when we have the two of us on screen together, but when you're talking, we'll do it on full frame so we get it in all the glory. But let me just first ask how you feel right now.
Well, it's been an emotional morning. I'm disappointed, but sadly not surprised. I don't think any of us were really surprised, but we were really holding out hope for a different outcome.
When you look back at your participation in the commission, I think the one thing that I just, having spoken to you on a number of occasions socially and privately, felt is that it was the first and really only opportunity you've had to tell your story and to speak to Canadians and to speak beyond the mainstream media depiction of you, the Justin Trudeau's depiction of you. And even with this result and with this report, do you feel there was something positive in that experience, or is the whole thing tainted for you?
Well, you nailed it exactly. I felt that was obviously the first opportunity that I've had to tell my story, and I literally left the commission that day feeling like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. I really felt at that time that the commissioner was really listening to me and empathetic, I guess, to our plight. Yeah, I'm still a little shocked, I guess. Like I said, this wasn't a surprising decision, but we were holding out hope for something a little more.
Yeah, I will say, just going back to the commission for a moment, there was something that I actually felt was quite moving when Paul Champ, who's the lawyer representing the residents and businesses of Ottawa, very much an anti, very much a figure against a lot of what you've stood for and what you've done, but he actually took a somewhat sympathetic approach in his questioning with you and saying, I know you're not a national security risk. I know you didn't pocket all this money. I know that you're not, all of these things. And certainly when you see that and hear that, you have to wonder if it's legal strategy or if it's that you had done just such a good job at presenting yourself in a good light that he knew that trying to vilify you wouldn't work. But it did seem like, even reading a bit of the commissioner's report now, that the sense is that, okay, maybe Tamara Lich is fine, but they couldn't control all these other people.
I like you, I was quite surprised by Mr. Champ's cross-examination of me, because I'd watched him cross-examine so many people before, so I was actually surprised when he came out and seemed to be a little softer with me. I mean, he did ask some hard questions still, but he didn't come out swinging like I anticipated that he was going to. So I think that was good. I think a lot of the testimony that was heard at the commission really painted the other side of the story. There's so many stories out here, and like I said, we heard them every day. And at the very least, I feel that the testimonies that we heard at the POEC gave a voice to Canadians and Canadians' concerns, if that makes sense.
Right now, there are going to be a lot of people who, to go back to 2020, 2021, felt very pessimistic about Canada and very disheartened by everything that had happened in Canada. And then a year ago, felt very hopeful and very encouraged. And for a lot of people, that chapter was the first time in a couple of years they felt truly proud to be Canadian. And where are you now on this question? I mean, if you look today at how you feel and looking around at, people you've made friendships with along the way, how do you think they're going to feel now?
Well, what I'm hearing is a lot of disappointment. Obviously, my phone's been buzzing since since 10:15 this morning. There is some anger out there, but I guess my message has always been we need to stay focused. We need to stay positive. I truly believe we can take this opportunity or look at it as an opportunity. And, we'll be busy here today. Obviously, there's 2,000 pages in that document. We'll go through it today with the lawyers and our team, have a good look at it. But I really hope that this doesn't discourage Canadians. It is so disappointing, and I'm gonna cry again. But it's not like everyone hasn't seen me cry a million times already. I really hope that we can try and take this and steer it in a way that this can we can have a positive outcome, or we can, have a common goal or try and make change. We're gonna meet with the legal team this afternoon and talk about next steps now.
This was, in your view, always, as you've said time and time again, a peaceful protest. And one of the things that the report has really done, I think, is tried to cast doubt on that and to really redefine, it seems, what peace is and what a peaceful protest is, and, about the disruption, about the noise, about things like that. And what would your message be to the people of Ottawa that felt, what, they showed up on our streets, they had these big trucks, they had these big horns, that was not peaceful to me?
Well, like I said in my testimony, we were never there to, we never wanted to upset the Ottawa residents. We really didn't. But we did feel that we had a message. And, I guess the honking of the horns was unfortunate. I mean, I feel, looking back, there's a lot of things I guess we could have done differently, but I think for the most part, we did everything right. I mean, when we saw what was happening, we recognized the magnitude, and our first instinct was to focus on safety, making sure that our people were safe, everybody was going to be safe, respecting the police. If you saw any of the videos that I ever did, or any of us did, even Chris Barber's TikToks, we were all advocating for a peaceful protest and following the law and respecting our police officers and trying to get along with Ottawa residents because we needed the support. We were hoping for the support.
The idea of freedom in January 2022, I think, was freedom from vaccine mandates, freedom from lockdowns and restrictions. And I would say, from my perspective, on February 14th of 2022, it changed dramatically. And now the Emergencies Act was in play, and the idea of freedom was about something much larger than COVID. And I think that was why you saw Canadians that might not have even supported the message that you were sharing a few weeks prior, that were saying, okay, I really don't like what the government has done now. I really don't like how the government's acting. And that's going to be the big question. And I mean, obviously, this report says that there may have been a sound legal footing for Justin Trudeau to do that. But that doesn't mean there was a sound moral footing. And I don't think that means Canadians will, in 3, 4, 5 years, look back upon this favorably.
I think you're right. I don't think they will. And same with the when his father called the War Measures Act. It was years later when that was started to be condemned also. So I guess time will tell. Time will tell. I found it. I guess the one takeaway from what we watched this morning that really struck me was Commissioner Rouleau saying that he felt that it was appropriate that they enacted the Emergencies Act, but that the government could have done more. So that kind of confused me. I mean, this is a dark day for Canada, in my opinion, but we have to stick together and we have to keep working together. We cannot make change in this country if we are all divided.
One thing I have to ask you about it, and I found this to be quite disheartening in Commissioner Rouleau's report, and I don't know if you've come across it yet, but he talks about the fringe minority comment, which I think now is so famous and everybody knows what I'm referring to. And he basically makes excuses for Justin Trudeau there. And he says, well, he was not really talking about them all. He was talking about just some of them, and the media took him out of context and so on. And you were one of the people that he was talking about there. So how do you feel about that comment looking back on it, and the effect that had on the approach that you've had to the government, and that, your friends sitting beside you today and around the country have had to this government in the last year?
Well, I thought it was quite humorous, honestly, at the inquiry when Miss Chipiuk, asked him about calling Canadians names, and he denied it. And I've seen it. Like I said in my testimony, my prime minister was calling me a racist, and he was questioning whether or not I should be tolerated. And like I said, and I stand by it, if you are going to lead a country, you lead everybody in your country. You don't get to pick and choose who you get to look after and who you don't get to look after. Yeah, I that's quite stunning.
I know that, and I've been deliberately cautious about which questions I ask you and how I word this, because I know that you are still under some bail conditions here, which we've reported on in the past. And I think that's an important point, though, for people, is that even if the trucks are off the street, the Emergencies Act Commission is over, this is still very much an ongoing thing for you, for Chris Barber. And I wanted to just ask if you have any updates you can share about this at all. And if you can't, that's absolutely fine. But about where things are and what you're expecting in the future.
Well, we did have I was in court yesterday morning, which was why I was late for the documentary. Actually, the irony is that we're in Calgary right now. That's why we're all together. We came up here and went to the premiere of Trudeau on Trial last night, which was a documentary created about the inquiry. So it's kind of ironic that this is happening today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I forgot your question.
I forgot my question too now, because I was so enthralled with what you were saying. But it was basically about just the status of your legal ordeals right now.
Yeah, so we were in court yesterday. What was supposed to happen yesterday and today was we had a motion for particulars to be heard as we're trying to get that information out of the Crown prosecutor. What ended up happening was the deputy Crown stepped in, and they are applying for a different judge. They want an out-of-town judge, apparently, to preside over next month's hearings, because Mr. Barber is obviously filed an application of a charter breach when the Crown prosecutor released all of his text message information. So they're looking to change the judge for that, which would mean that we would be changing judges for the rest of our hearings, which would cause a delay for everything. So we're really hoping that doesn't happen. She's going to render her decision on that, I think, March 13th.
Well, we'll certainly keep an eye peeled on that. And just because your road captains there have been so patient in during this interview, I just wanted to give the floor to them for a moment, and just any thoughts they have about the movement right now, about the commission, about Tamara, about anything. The floor is yours.
Sure. Well, what happened today, I don't think I'm taking a positive out of it, and I'm hoping to bring Canada together, and we can all create something and bring peace back into this country. That's about all I can say right now, because I'm kind of I don't know how. I don't know how.
Stunned.
Yeah,
I
it's
think we're
kinda
all a little
stunned.
bit shell shocked still.
Stunned by it, yeah.
Is that
It comes from a place of, I was just talking about the first couple pages of my book. I can't tell you how many times I said the words, how can any of this be wrong? And I think that it's really hard to come to this place today and still feel that we did nothing wrong, but, stand up for our democratic right to protest. And Rouleau took that away in a sense today. So it's a step back and focus on where we go next from here.
Well, thank you so much, not only for coming on, but for taking such, I think, I'm getting a little emotional now, but in spite of everything you've all been through, taking such a hopeful approach to something that I think right now a lot of people are going to feel very dark about. And as I've said to you privately, Tamara, I want you to send me a text the minute those bail restrictions are lifted, and I'm going to be like on a plane to Medicine Hat, and we're going to do this properly and in person, and then we're going to like drink until the night is morning. So I hope I can still I hope I can count on that spare room you told me about there.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you to
Thank you
to
so
all
much.
of you, and seriously, thank you. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Andrew.
Thanks for listening to The Andrew Lawton Show. Support the program by donating to True North at www.tnc.news.